Welcome to a busted play. An illegal use of hands to the face short.
The Broncos are getting very close to the NFL season. Like many other teams around the league, the league starts at the same time for most teams. It's really cool how that happens. But the interesting piece of that is that we didn't know earlier in the offseason what was going to happen with Aaron Rodgers. We still have no idea what's happening with Aaron Rodgers. But I'd say the Broncos have to be planning for it not to be Aaron Rodgers starting at quarterback for them. With that being the case, what do you think about the quarterback situation for the Denver Broncos and maybe how it affects the rest of the team around them?
I think the Broncos quarterback situation is going to mimic the Bears quarterback situation of last season, where they're going to bring in Teddy Bridgewater, like the Bears brought in Nick Foles, to light a fire underneath their young starting quarterback to get him to perform the way they know he can. And Drew Lock, similar to Mitch Trubisky, is going to win some games, but his performance isn't going to be what they want it to be, or he's going to lose some games and his performance isn't going to be what they want it to be. So then they bring Teddy Bridgewater in, and then it's like, oh, more of the same, or just a little bit of an improvement. And then he's going to get hurt, or they're going to bench him again, and then they're going to bring back Drew Lock to finish out the season, and then that's going to accumulate and them having a bad record because they're just switching quarterback left and right, trying to figure something out. And they're going to be in position to get a top end quarterback in the draft, and they're going to move on from Drew Lock and probably keep Teddy Bridgewater to be the backup then.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to figure this out too. And I'm just thinking I'm thinking right now, what do we got? We got a defensive minded coach with a defense that I would say is probably like overall maybe a little bit better than middle of the road. The coaching aspect of it helps them make them a little better. They've got a decent amount of guys, but they've still got a few holes that could be addressed and some aging guys at other positions. Meanwhile, on the offensive side of the ball, they've got like two or three guys at the running back position that I feel like could play just be a starting running back in the NFL. Maybe not be insane, but be a starter. Then at the receiver position, we've talked about their depth at length before. And I think Noah Fant at tight end is good enough, and he's young still. He's 23. This will be his fourth season. But then on the offensive line too, sorry, last position I haven't hit, just fairly mediocre, fairly middle of the road. So it's like, what do you want to do with your quarterback? And I think it does come back to that point I said with the coach being a defensive-minded coach. I think actually at the start of the season, we'll see Bridgewater, and I think that's because of the efficiency perspective. I think that he will look at it and say, okay, this guy is way too good at kind of being like the prototypical game manager. And with those short passes, keeping your completion percentage higher, not having as many turnovers, I think the defensive-minded coach is going to like that. Now, then my question turns into, how far into the season does that play out? Now, granted, we know that Bridgewater is kind of injury-prone, to say the least, sadly. Not something you love to say, but it's just the truth. And it's like looking past that. If we say he doesn't get injured, because injuries are unpredictable, right? How does this season go for them? I think they're lucky. Early in the season, they've actually got 3 games in a row that they could win. They play at the Giants, then at the Jaguars, and then they play against the Jets at home. None of those games are completely out of reach for them, even with like the quarterback position not being a strong suit, like one of the most important positions not being a strong suit. So I feel like he's got to make it through these 3 games, and then obviously be starting week 4 because none of those went terribly south. Week 4 they play Baltimore. That could start to change things and at least rile some feathers. And then the following week, we don't have a great team here, but we've got a team that is no slouch on defense at Pittsburgh. This is where it starts to get interesting, thinking about, okay, what do they want to see from Bridgewater? What will they accept from him for his quarterback play? And when would they want to move to Drew Lock? Because once you get to Drew Lock, then you have the potential of really getting the ball down the field, which is something Teddy doesn't love to do as much. Meanwhile, it seems like Drew Lock wants to do it all the time. He just wants to go deep. He's a big guy. He's just ready to go out there and sling it, right? I think either of them do. They change up the way they change up the team is really interesting because I don't know how it'll affect them. And I think Teddy could help them win some games that they wouldn't win with Drew Lock, and I think Drew Lock could help them win games that they may not be able to win with Teddy. I don't know. It's interesting to me, but right now I'd just say Teddy starts, and then maybe like mid-season time they say, "Hey, you're not getting it done," and then they go to Drew Lock. But you are probably right in the fact that they never really will find an answer because I don't think either of these guys are their long-term answers to the quarterback question.
Yeah, with Teddy Bridgewater, and this is the great thing with Teddy Bridgewater. You're getting a game manager. You know what you're getting with Teddy. You're getting a very consistent quarterback that's going to make the easy throws. And that's kind of the downside with him too, is you know what you're getting. And Drew Lock, you don't know. It's kind of like, oh, can he do it? Can he take this mythical jump now that every fan base thinks a quarterback's going to take now after seeing Josh Allen? Can he do it? Uh, that's gonna be a big wager that the Broncos are gonna have to put on him if they want him to play a majority of the season. Of we're going to have lumps with you, but we're hoping that at some point you take this jump. And that's how I could see Drew Lock playing the entire season then, is them being like, okay, we need to actually take our time with this. And we can't just like bringing in Teddy's good, but I don't know if they kind of have like two different ideas in their front office or with their coach and their GM, or George Patton took over for John Elway, right?
Somebody
So
did, but
Elway
yeah.
like promoted himself. Uh he so I don't know if that Bridgewater move was made before or after Patton was put in there, but it could seem like two ideologies of give Drew Lock time and light a fire under him could clash here with that Teddy Bridgewater move because the fan base and I think the coaching staff alike, if they're not getting results from one guy, there's going to be half of the group just going, "Oh, well, we need to put the other guy in," and the other group's, "Oh, let's just ride it out with this guy because we know what we're if it's Teddy, we know what we're getting with him, so let's just ride it out with him." And then if Drew Lock is saying it's like, "Yeah, but we don't know what we're getting with him, and it could be better," so, but if Drew Lock starts and he's playing bad, it's gonna be like, yeah, we know what we're getting with Teddy. Can we please just put him in there? At least we have a chance to win games.
Well, what's funny is this team doesn't have a chance to beat somebody like the Chiefs. I don't think.
Oh
Like I
no,
don't think they have a chance. You talk about your Chargers, right? Uh,
me Buffalo Bills fan, but my
your
Chargers,
Chargers.
yes.
We talk about your Los Angeles Chargers. They've got it. They've got an interesting thing here because this is what I was kind of saying before. I feel like a team, where like if you play Teddy against the Chargers, I feel like you have no chance of beating them. Like they have
Oh
zero
yeah,
chance of beating the Chargers if Teddy is playing. On the other hand, if Drew Lock's in, he just needs one of those games where he gets the ball going down the field and actually hits a decent number of them. He hits a decent number of them. They have a chance in that game. Uh, then on the other hand, there's other games that should be like kind of easy games, just in terms of like the opponent not being terribly good. Both the New York games, the game against Philadelphia, Detroit, Cincinnati, even Vegas, twice. Those games probably just from my perspective, if Drew Lock's playing him and they become a lot more of like toss-ups, whereas if Teddy's playing in them, I feel a lot more confident that the Broncos could come out and win those games. But then, like I said, on the other hand, you got the games like against the Chargers, where it's a team they probably shouldn't beat. Where if Drew Lock has a great day, um, it's just playing. It's kind of playing with like that that idea of like, okay, we can have the one guy that's right in the middle, or we can have the other guy who can fall anywhere way above or way below him. And it's like that concept, that idea is just so interesting to think about what the coach will value.
mm-hmm.
But
uh, yeah.
you you
Sorry, what
you
were you gonna
do
say?
you do think that Drew Lock is the starter week 1? That's just what I mean.
Yes, I do think Drew Lock will start week one. It's going to be hard for them to not start him week one, just because he's been there, and unless like preseason comes around and they have an actual quarterback battle, and when they're going against starters, it's like, oh, Teddy is obviously better than him by a mile.
You don't think it's an open competition?
No, I do think it's an open competition for week two. I think week one it's like Drew Lock. We have to go with him there. But week two, that's when the open competition starts. If Drew Lock plays terrible the first half, I could see them benching him, putting Teddy in. But
Okay.
I think the main thing is they're competing for who is the starter after week one.
Yeah, if Drew Lock comes out and looks terrible against the New York Giants, uh, I mean, the secondary for the Giants is okay or pretty good, but I mean,
The rest of it is
I
just
would be pretty disappointed if he came out and just looked like trash against the Giants. They don't have enough that's a good enough excuse to say that he should be looking terrible if he does do that.
he's got like 3 games where he can make himself look good.
Yeah,
The Jags game is going to be the harder one out of these three, but he's got a great setup where he can make himself look so good. And then if you get late, like just destroyed by Baltimore, that's fine.
yeah.
Better teams than the Broncos get destroyed by Baltimore. But I think the main goal is like, hey, Drew, we need you to win these first 3 games to just show us that you have it. If not, Teddy's probably going to take it over.
So we're higher on the Jaguars than most people. Would you say we are, right?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah. So do you feel like do you feel from the public perspective, like if they drop to the Jaguars, would Broncos fans be like really upset? Because I kind of agree with you. I mean, like from the public perspective, they should go 3-0 in these games. But me looking at it, I say 2-1.
2-1 and putting up a fight in that Jags game would be good.
Yeah, and then just get slaughtered by Baltimore.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting slaughtered by Baltimore.
And from that point, we just have to see where it goes because I don't even know after that.
Yeah.
Broncos
I
QB
mean,
play is going to be interesting. I mean, I don't know if you can compete against Kendall Hinton starting a game last year, but I mean, it'll still be interesting.
hmm if they were going to make the right move, though, it wouldn't have been trading for Teddy. It would have been signing Tyrod because then Drew Lock would have definitely been a Hall of Famer.
Good point. Good point. I like that. I like that. All right, you all set?
But you know, Davis Mills is going to be the one now in
Oh,
Houston.
wow,
And on
true.
that note, we can cut this here.